I was Maduro, I'd head to Russia or China right now.
Because?
His days are numbered. Something's going to happen. Whether it's internal or external, I think something's going to happen.
The firepower that's off the coast, right? This is an armada. This is a lot of U.S. forces. Are we about to invade Venezuela?
I don't think so. I mean, if we do, I'd be surprised.
Earlier this month, President Trump announced he approved covert CIA operations inside Venezuela. What do you think removing Maduro would signal to other socialist regimes in the area?
It'll be the end of Cuba.
Cuba relies on subsidized Venezuelan oil to prop up its economy.
America is going to take care of the Southern Hemisphere, and we're going to make sure that there's freedom and democracy.
But back for this blood for oil, wars for oil idea. I don't think that is a cheap talking point when it comes to Venezuela. Donald Trump has for decades been talking about how the U.S. should pillage other countries to take their oil. He spent a lot of time talking about how that should be done in Iraq. And during his first presidency, he wanted to do just that, to have Iraq pay us back for the war that we started by having America steal their oil. This idea of America going overseas and taking other people's resources is the reason why he was talking about taking Greenland and Canada. The man is more simple than I was when I was
I'll walk you through it. First of all, Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, just told reporters in a briefing here at the White House a short time ago that the U.S. does intend to seize the oil on the tanker that has already been secured. That tanker will be moved to a U.S. port. She said that officials are on board the tanker, interviewing the crew, scouring the ship for information and evidence, and ultimately an investigation will be launched as to whether the assets, the ship and the oil and anything on it should be seized by the U.S. government. No information from the White House on what will happen after that. Secondly, we've got a report here from Reuters just within the past few moments as well, suggesting that the United States is preparing to seize more Venezuelan oil tankers in the open ocean. I just talked to a White House official here in the West Wing about that a couple of moments ago. That White House official not disputing that report at all, quite the contrary, saying that the United States government is prepared to enforce the law, and also saying that seizing more tankers is definitely something that this administration would want to do. To that end, Kelly, our intrepid producers on the news desk at CNBC Global Headquarters have spotted the OFAC list, the Treasury puts out. That is the seized asset list, or the sanctions list by the Treasury Department, has just been updated, and on it are a number of oil tankers. These are now designated oil tankers that are allegedly in violation of U.S. sanctions. Those include H. Constance, a crude oil tanker with a Panama flag; Carria M, a crude oil tanker with a Panama flag; Latafa, a crude oil tanker also Panamanian flagged; Monique, of Cook Islands flag; Tamia, a crude oil tanker with a Hong Kong flag, et cetera, et cetera. You get the idea. A lot of crude oil tankers are now on Treasury's OFAC list, so we could watch for more seizures by U.S. forces as they track down Venezuela oil imports that they say are in violation of U.S. sanctions. And one more thing, Kelly, the big question here is what happens to that oil that's on that tanker? Where does that go? Now, typically, the process for any law enforcement seizure is that those assets would be deemed through a legal process to be forfeited to the U.S. government. At some point down the line, quite a bit down the line, there will be an auction, often by the U.S. Marshals, to auction off those seized assets that the U.S. government does not need to hold anymore. So frequently you see the U.S. Marshals auctioning off houses and Ferraris and other assets that have been seized by drug dealers and other lawbreakers. In this case, that is one option, although the White House is not committing to going down the path of having U.S. Marshals auction for thousands of barrels of oil seized.
You know, we've just seized a tanker. As you probably know, we've just seized a tanker on the coast of Venezuela. Large tanker, very large. Largest one ever seized, actually. And other things are happening, so you'll be seeing that later, and you'll be talking about that later with some other people.
Explain a little more about this Venezuelan oil tanker.
Well, I'll let the people do it, but you see the result, and I guess they probably have released the pictures by now, pretty soon. You'll discuss that with the appropriate people later on, but No, it was seized for a very good reason.
We're interested in the seizure of this tanker. What happens to the oil on that ship?
Well, we keep it, I guess.
Where does it go? What does it go to?
Well, you have to follow the tanker. You know, you're a good newsman. Just follow the tanker.
Do you know where it's going? Was it going
Follow
to
it.
China?
Get a helicopter. Follow the tanker.
Is it true it's going to
But we're gonna.
Shalom. All praises, all power, all glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakah HaKwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of the great millstone who teach well and rule well, who taught me this truth. Peace and salutations to the Akyam, the fellow laborers, the hopeful elect, pushing this truth and risk their own lives through the four corners of the earth. To the Akwath, the listening and learning, sincerity, and the truth and the silence, Shalom. This is your brother Shema from the GMS Toronto camp. Here in Toronto, here with another lesson, right? And, you know, just looking at this footage, hey, we have to remember everything is a stage, right? And all wars are bankers' wars, right? And all roads lead to the MOTB. We know the elites have an agenda, right, to push the NWO. And we know the elites are going to stage things. Listen, all the wars in the past, which were bankers' wars, they had lead-ups. They had events, one after the other, leading up until full-blown, until a full-blown world war took place, right? But they had multiple skirmishes and different leaders grandstanding and posturing against one another, right? I want to open with a scripture, right? Habakkuk 2 and 4. Habakkuk 2, verse 4. Habakkuk 2 and 5. And it reads, right, and this is the pedigree of the Edomite, man. Habakkuk 2 and 5. And it reads, I'll read from 4. Habakkuk 2 and 4. Behold, his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him, right? He's crooked. He's a serpent, right? Lifted up, meaning what? With pride. He's proud, right? You listen to the soundbite there, and Nero 47. Oh, we're just going to keep it and then we'll auction it off, right? We're just going to keep the oil and auction it off. That's his pride. But the just, and who are the just? The elect, shall live by his faith. And it's only the elect are going to have faith in these times that we're going into, right? The world is void of faith. Verse 5, here's a point. Yeah, also because he transgresseth by wine, right? And what is his wine? His democracy, his philosophy. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, right? He's got garrisons, military bases throughout the four corners of the earth, right? Last time I checked, it was like 750 plus military bases throughout the whole world, right? Neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, hell being the grave, hell being a condition, and is as death, right? Because this serpent, this diabolical madman, right? Nothing but death follows him, and cannot be satisfied, right? He's covetous, right? Once again, a lot of things are psyops. I'm going to be scripted to usher it to lead up into full-blown World War III. But the MOTB will be mandated worldwide before World War III. So what we're seeing is the lead up, the build up, right? Right. But yeah, he's covetous. He wants resources. He wants what you got. But gathereth unto him all nations, right? His NWO, and heapeth unto him all people, right? Ultimately, the goal of the elites, beginning with their elites, the banking cartels, is the new world order. But I asked chat, or kind of that soundbite that said they're going to keep the oil and auction it. So I asked chat, when the U.S. government seizes assets on international waters and then auctions the said assets via U.S. Marshals, Marshall should have been M-A-R-S-H-A-L, Slovakia, who are the buyers? Well, that's a cheerful little maritime piracy, but make it bureaucratic question. Fine, let me drag out the answer like a tired dock worker. When the U.S. government seizes assets in international waters and later auctions them off through the U.S. Marshal Service, the buyers are basically whoever has enough cash, paperwork, and tolerance for government-grade inconvenience. There's no shadowy cabal with eye patches bidding it's via secret hand signals. It's more mundane. Here's who typically ends up buying that stuff. Regular commercial buyers, resellers and speculators, niche collectors, foreign buyers and corporations, scrap and dismantling companies, right? But the one that stuck out to me here was foreign buyers and corporations. As long as they clear export rules, they can bid just fine. The U.S. doesn't care who buys it so long as the money arrives and the paperwork doesn't set off a smoke alarm. You see? It's all about the bottom line with these Edomites. I asked another question, is the oil auctioned or do the U.S. keep it? It says, when the U.S. seizes the oil from a tanker, they usually do the same boring thing they do with every other seized asset, sell it. The U.S. Marshal Service handles it, just like with the ship itself. They auction the oil to commercial buyers, refineries, traders, and anyone else who deals in bulk commodities and has the cash plus compliance paperwork. The government doesn't keep the oil, they keep the money, which lands in various buckets depending on the case. If it's tied to sanctions, violations, the proceeds often get directed to specific funds or victim compensation programs. If it's criminal forfeiture, the money can go to law enforcement programs, restitution, or the Treasury's great void of general funds. So yes, the oil gets auctioned. The U.S. isn't topping up its natural gas tank with contraband. They just liquidate it like everything else and move on to the next headache, right? Move on to the next psyop, right? These elites are wicked, man, right? Micah, what did I have? I had it queued up. Isaiah 5 and 8. And it reads, woe unto them that join house to house, that lay field to field, till there be no place, right? They fill the place with their cities, right? Aren't they the ones that have torn down the Amazon rainforest, right? The scriptures calls them the destroyer of the earth. Till there be no place, that they may be placed alone in the midst of the earth, right? And the Lord, ultimately, the destruction is coming for these Edomites, right? Isaiah 14 and 21, it reads, prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers, right? The Edomites, right? You have a lot of Edomites running around here. When the truth karate chops them in the neck, they're quick to say, that wasn't me, that was my forefather, right? You are your forefather coming back. That they do not rise nor possess the land nor fill the face of the world with cities, right? And that's what they've done, beginning with the Renaissance. They rose up, right? The Renaissance meaning rebirth. They rose up, they possess the lands, and they fill the world, they fill the face of the world with their cities, right? Their landmarks. Scriptures say some remove the landmarks. I had that queued up. There are landmarks everywhere, right? Job 24 and 2. And it reads, some remove the landmarks, right? The landmarks, the borders, right? They're always quick to invade somewhere when it's deemed that landmark, that area, that piece of land is fertile with resources. They violently take away flocks and feed thereof, right? They violently take away your shit and then they eat, right? What does it say in Sirach 10? I had it queued up. Sirach 10 and 8, right? And this, once again, this is the pedigree of the Edomite, the wicked, according to Scripture. Sirach 10 and 8, because of unrighteous dealings, right? And this was his rise to power. Via what? Unrighteous dealings, right? Fraud, corruption, injuries, right? Cargo slave ships, smallpox blankets, Jim Crow laws, right? Reservation schools, and riches got by deceit, right? They pillaged, right? They took, and they have it buried in the basement of the Vatican. Various royal Esau royalty, it's in their possession. The kingdom is translated from one people to another, right? And what's the translation of the kingdom going to be? Our scriptures say Esau is the end of the world, but Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth after. That translation will be the wealth transfer from the wicked to the Israelites, right? Under Yahushai, the 12, King David, and the joint heirs who were the 144,000. Verse 9, why is earth and ashes proud? Right, and Edomite is proud. There is not a more wicked thing than a covetous man, right? Covet. These Edomites covet, man. They covet resources. They covet wealth. For such an one setteth his own soul to sale, because while he liveth, he casteth away his bowels. Right? If you're covetous, you will sell your dignity, your integrity, to possess those riches. We see it all the time in the world of Hollywood, the sports industry with Jakes. Right? They covet the bag so much, they're willing to compromise their integrity. Right? They're willing to hold their ankles. They're willing to be passed around by record execs and politicians. They're willing to be used and abused for riches, man. Right? But yeah, I sit on that. Micah 2:1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds, right? Beginning with their elites, man. They're always working evil. They're always planning the next psyop, the next proxy war, the next invasion, whatever it be, the next emic or worldwide crisis. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand, right? And who's in the power seat? These bankers, these ruling class elites. Here's the point. And they covet fields and take them by violence, right? Anywhere there's resources, they're going to invade and take it, man. And they're going to release a press conference, and they're going to psyop the world with news of this place needs to be. We need to go in there. What's the narrative now? Drug boats. Right? Drug boats. We got to bomb the drug boats. Right? Now it's taking a spin, going into, now we're going to seize the tankers. And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. Right? Listen, the West, America the Great, Babylon the Great, Canada, the Americas, South Americas, is stolen land. Right? And then they oppress the men, they oppress the Northern Kingdom and their heritage, oppress the man, threw them in the residential schools, jacked them up on alcohol. Right? Residential schools, reservations, doped them up. Right? And gave them a white Jeebus. right? This is the pedigree of the Edomite, right? But with that, call Allah Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai, Ba'Hashem Rakah HaKodash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who teach one rule well. Shalom to the elect.